Rappin' with ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine.
Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin' with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhammer. So, on today's live stream, I welcome back Jim Graham, who you may know as Telegraham on Instagram and YouTube. What's up, Jim, man? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Keith. It's awesome to be back. It's been a minute, and this is fun, so I'm looking forward to this evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude, we got a lot of folks coming into the stream. I see a lot of familiar people out there. Great Bearded Reef. Thanks, Paul, again for being the moderator. Oh, Yoki, man, Moki, thanks for the super chat, dude. Really appreciate it. Right off the bat, Moki comes through. So, all right, a lot of you folks know Jim, and he does his own live stream on YouTube and has a very large following on Instagram. Nearly 6,000 followers.
Almost.
Yeah, right?
Yep, almost.
And you've been in the hobby for about 9 years. Is that accurate?
About 9. It is.
All right, so Jim likes to take stuff apart, equipment, and to study the build quality and to better understand how things function. He is operated on a number of products from GHL, Neptune, and other manufacturers, right? And the data that he gets from his tests have yielded some very unique and unbiased insights. Is that an accurate statement there, Jim?
I suppose it's accurate enough. I have my preference, you know that, but I do have as many devices as I possibly can. I do have all the controllers, and you know they all have their place.
Yep. A couple of more facts about Jim, in case you don't know. He is retired Air Force. Thank you for your service there, Jim. Formerly assigned to the KC-135 aerial refueler, the B-2 stealth bomber, and the YAL-1A Airborne Laser.
Pew pew. Yep.
Additionally,
that was a chemical oxygen. Yeah. What's that?
Go ahead, man.
That's a chemical oxygen. They chopped that plane up, unfortunately, and a whole lot of people were pissed. They claimed it was due to toxicity, but I'll buy that. But it was a chemical oxygen iodine laser built into a 747. with 6 laser modules, each about the size of a Suburban, turned up on its nose. And if a missile, ballistic missile, was shot out of New York City, I'm near Washington D.C. So if a ballistic went out of New York in the boost phase, ABL flying around at 40, 50,000 feet would be able to target it, identify, hit it, blow it up, and all the bad pieces would land back down on New York. No offense, but that's what that thing was capable of doing. That was a long time ago. That was 2010, I think, somewhere around there, where it did its last shoot down, 10 or 11, and then that thing's gone. So who knows where that technology went? But it was a cool program to be on.
Wow, dude, that is pretty serious stuff. I can't even wrap my head around that stuff. So what's Moki saying here? I see what's in the background. I don't think he's talking about me. What's behind you, dude?
Air Force stuff.
Air Force stuff.
Like when Chuck Yeager re-enlisted me, because that was cool.
He re-enlisted you, Chuck Yeager?
Yeah, totally did.
Whoa.
Yep. He was out doing a discussion near where the B-29 pit is, so where they would drive the B-29 over the Bell X-1 to pick it up. That pit was in the parking lot of where I worked, where I supported the B-2 and the ABL. And he was out one day, and the base set up this dedication, and my dad flew out. We had a thing. I re-enlisted, flew an F-16 the next day in the back seat, and it was a whole thing. It was an enjoyable weekend.
Dude, maybe we should just talk about your military background. It's pretty fascinating stuff. No, we're on the wrong stream for that.
It's all pure. No. I mean, it's cool. It's all pure luck, though. I've been so lucky to be in the right place at the right time.
For sure. All right. So before we get into the discussion here, I just want to thank the sponsors for the live stream, Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. I really appreciate them supporting the stream and the show, and I also really appreciate all you folks tuning in. And as per usual, we would encourage you to drop some comments in the chat and questions. Questions are always encouraged. It's great to have an interactive program here. So, dude, how's it going with the tanks? Can you kind of give everybody a little, overview, reminder in terms of what you have in terms of your setup?
Yeah, I can. And first, I'm super tank envious because you're on this very clean tank and journey, and I'm super envious of that. I have some work to do with mine. I'm bringing in a 93 cube to replace my 45 gallon that I've had for 9 years.
Yeah.
My only upgrade in the last 9 years was the addition of a 40 gallon breeder that Moki gave me one day. And that's what's in the closet. So I've got the 45 cube, a 40 breeder, hooked up to a Fuge, and there's another 5.5 in there that I use to mix when I dose. What I dose usually goes into that 5.5. It gets blended up, and then gravity feeds down to 40. The 40 gravity feeds down to the shared sump, and a pump moves it back and forth. So shared water, about 100 gallons total, and it's a swamp. It's nasty. And
why is
I
that?
have total tank, clean tank envy. Oh, because I'm lazy and I work too much. And I haven't run filter socks in years, and I've got detritus. It's like a nice blanket of detritus in any horizontal surface.
Detritus can be the devil.
Detritus, it has caused me, I think, the majority of my problems. And one day I'll clean it, and one day I'll be like, well, that was stupid. Why did I just do that for the last 6 years?
So hold it, dude. Why are you not siphoning out your detritus? How long does it take you to do your maintenance?
So the sump is super small, right? It's a tiny little, maybe 10 gallon sump underneath that 45 cube inside the stand. The only way to put that thing in there is to take the tank off and then put the sump in. So my ability to get in there, and then my 55-year-old ass climbing on the ground trying to siphon stuff out, there's that. And then the way the closet is set up, the way it is, the way I configured it without forward thinking, makes it very difficult for me. So that, and I got too much other stuff going on. I need to do it, and one day I will.
Yes, you need to make some time for your reef tanks, that's for sure. Kyle Tacey, thank you so much for that super chat. Very generous. Really appreciate it. The comment is, love the show. Thanks for all the hard work. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in and being supporting the show. So anyway, all right. So, all right, you got a new tank coming in then.
Yeah, it's been sitting out on my patio for almost a year now.
Oh, the patio? It's like out in the winter weather and stuff? That's not good for the silicone.
No, but I've there was, if you watch Moki's, and Moki came over and shot some stuff of my super not cool setup. And at one point I had a 20-gallon long that was sitting on top of 2x4s on top of an IKEA cabinet. It was my interim frag while I was cleaning out some stuff, and then it stayed far too long. It's like one of those guests that you can't get rid of once they hang out.
Yeah. I know the type.
That lived outside for a very long time before I brought it in. I'm not too concerned about this tank. It was used. I'll fill it up and we'll see what it does. Once I get a period of no rain for a week or two, I'll just fill it out in the patio and see what happens.
Great bearded Reef Paul, man. Thank you for that super chat. Greatly enjoying the conversation already. Much love from Boston. Yeah, Beantown. Paul
was just in Boston. Loved it.
Paul is the moderator of this stream, and really appreciate what he does. All right, so you've got you're replacing the 40-gallon breeder, and that's connected to the display or frag tank.
Yeah, I'm gonna replace the 45 cube. So the display, if you will, mad air quotes there, that'll come out, and we'll figure out what to do with that. That used to be an Oscar tank, and then it was a friend of mine's saltwater tank. All hand-me-down stuff. One day maybe I'll have nice stuff, but right now it's all used tanks. That's what I do.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with bringing old stuff back to life. That's for sure. What's your vision in terms of if you could have like the if you had the room and you had the some money to spend in terms of that kind of setup. What is your vision in terms of that? What it would look like in a couple of years.
I'm not sure I'm a big tank guy. If I can get 9 years out of a 45-gallon cube, hand me down Oscar tank, then I could probably do pretty well, as long as the 93 holds water.
Yeah.
I could probably do okay. I kind of like taller tanks.
Really, you like the taller tank?
Space.
That's like the one dimension that I'm not into.
Do.
I like wide.
I mean, I've got this, and I can get in there pretty well, but I like taller tanks. I just don't. I suppose I would have to think alternatively. I would have to think as if I had the space to do it. I'm in a small place. Intentionally, I think if I had a large house, I would just fill it up with more shit, and I think that would be a problem. So I control my hobbies kind of passively with the size of my house.
Dude, I've got a pretty decent sized house on it. I've got an 800 square foot basement that is where I have my two big display tanks, and it's kind of like my office and a pool table and all that stuff. Really nice. And then the workroom, and I've shown it a lot in the videos and stuff on YouTube. My sump room, it's getting really, really crowded. I mean, I've had to be like super, super creative. And then today I was so I'm expanding my my Kalkwasser reservoir. So I have this 30-gallon drum. All right, I guess I'm already transitioning into the Kalkwasser discussion here, but so I'm doing the Chris Meckley method. I've got a 30-gallon drum that I put Kalkwasser in, and it's super saturated solution in there. So I've got it all figured out, and so I know in terms of conductivity or pH that it is super saturated. And I use my my GHL dosing pumps to draw from it and to dose to both systems. So I've got this very elaborate setup where I've got probably 20 to 25 feet of tubing that goes into the sump for the Peninsula tank, and then I've got a smaller run for the 187-gallon tank. And so it's dosing, and I'm dosing a lot. I'm dosing about 8,500 mLs per day on the 187-gallon system, and about half of that on the Peninsula tank. And that was because it was started with frags, but now I'm starting to get a lot of growth in that tank and a lot of corals, and so I need to expand my capacity to dose Kalkwasser. So today I ordered another 30-gallon drum. I got it in, so I can't even put it in my sump room. I have to put it in the room where the furnace is and go through the wall. And today, man, I fucked up. I was so I wanted to tap into my 3/4-inch PVC pipe that I have a 50-gallon drum with RODI water in it, and I pumped that into another 50-gallon drum where I have my saltwater makeup water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to do was I have also another line that goes to my my one sump to the one Kalkwasser drum. So I wanted to run another line to the new Kalkwasser drum, but I screwed up and I tapped into the saltwater makeup line drum line, and I spent most of the day doing that work. And then I'm like, all right, man, I got a lot of work done. I'm all set to rock and roll. I'm like, holy crap, man, I screwed up. I just tapped into the wrong freaking line, But, the purpose of that long story is to say that Kalkwasser is king. I'm doing it, one way. You're doing it another way in terms of the slurry method.
Mm-hmm. But we're doing it the same way, just at different scales. Because you have the size, the ability to have those 30-gallon drums. That's kick-ass. But then you take my system, total 100 gallons with a max summertime evaporation of 0.4. So less than half a gallon a day evap in the summer. Wow. And that's what I base my dosing off of. Of course, winter's way different, right?
Yeah.
Winter's easily over a gallon, but summertime's 0.4. So I don't have, if I could do it with saturated calc, I totally would, but I'm going to overfill my sump by doing it that way. So I'm doing it exactly the same way you're doing it, but I'm just using slurry. I'm using a 3% slurry. So instead of the 2 gallons a day that I would need to dose to support my pH targets of 8.3, I'm dosing 400 ml a day. Same thing. I'm getting the same result. It's just substantially less, and the scale works for me. Chris's pH target, and I think that's what you're thinking about doing, if you're not already doing.
Yeah. So let me give a shout out to Rob upstate New York. Thanks for the super chat, Rob. Comment is, I want to build a new house around a new tank. Laugh out loud. Keep up the great chats, Keith. Appreciate that, man. And I see Remy, Bahama Llama Coral is in the house. What's up there, Remy?
What's up, Remy? Remy, Lauren.
Yeah. So pretty much my the pH in my two systems is it's kind of like in the butter zone. I'm like running 8.2 to 8.3 on the established system, which is good. I probably wanted to get a little bit higher, and I'll try to like figure out a way to maybe elevate it a little bit more, using the calcium reactor. And on the Peninsula tank, it's like 8.2 to 8.4. So, it's great. And actually the Kalkwasser for me, I let the drum run too low the other day.
Okay. And
it ran out. I was trying to,
and you saw the difference.
I saw probably like a 0.2 pH points. Big difference. Yep. So, so what you're talking about is essentially setting a limit in, both you and I are using the Profilux, GHL Profilux, to set kind of like an upper limit, right? And have the doser
lower limit. I set a lower limit.
You set lower limit?
I set a hard deck of 8.3, so I don't go below that.
All right, so explain what you're doing then. So, I mean, lower and upper limits. The purpose of the lower limit is what? To basically...
Actually, Lauren's in here, so I hit up Lauren. She lives in Australia, and it sucks for her that she lives on the ocean. It's just terrible. But what I asked her, she went out and she tested water parameters in a bay nearby, which I thought was pretty cool. So she took her test kits out on a boat, did what she had to do, and took those samples, and her pH was 8.3. And I was like, yo, what's your pH at night? I want to know the nighttime pH. And she went out. I have no idea what time it was, but it was certainly nighttime, and she measured 8.3. I understand that there's some fluctuations based on where you are, but in her particular case, she has a relatively constant 8.3. I was like, okay, so that's my target. If her Australian whatever is 8.3, then that's going to be my target. So I set that as my low. And of course, you're going to get that rise with photosynthesis during the day. That will take, I'll go up to 8.5. But it's usually 8.4 and change, something around there. But as soon as the lights turn off, then it will drop down and it'll stay at 8.3. And the P4 will dose just enough saturated, well, just enough, in my case, slurry, to maintain that 8.3, just like what Meckley's doing, just with GHL and with slurry.
So do you have a set amount, do you have set amounts, during the evening to dose? I mean, are you no?
It does it all by itself. It decides how much it needs to dose based on that pH reading.
Interesting. So that's what you're doing there. Yeah, I'm basically not doing that at all. I'm pretty much figuring out what I'm evaporating and dosing what I think is close to that amount, when the lights are off. So kind of like doing a concentrated Kalkwasser dosing when the opposite the light schedule.
Yeah, agreed. And I sent you my alkalinity because I'm often asked what the alkalinity looks like.
Yeah, I'm going to show it right here.
And you can see that it's a relatively stable, somewhere around 8 to 8.5. There was an increase recently, and that was while I was away. My daughter came over and she fed the tank just twice while I was gone for 8 days or so. And then there was no coral feeding, no trace dosing, no nothing. It was just slurry. So it looked like I had a little bit of slowed growth because alkalinity came up a bit, but I expect that to drop back down. Now I'm back to normal.
Yeah, I'd have to investigate this in terms of whether or not that would make sense for me. I just don't know in terms of how much. I never really get. So the thing is, I never really get too much below that 8.3. But and we talked about this before earlier this week, I think, via email or whatever it was, that the GHL doser is really not the optimal way to be dosing Kalkwasser, especially at my volume. I don't know.
Yeah, not for big volumes. Yeah. So small heads aren't for big volumes. But you know what I did with a dose. I just converted it to GHL by throwing in the GHL board, but because I didn't feel like waiting for the new Maxi, and the old ones are hard to get, but. Yeah, you really need a large head, keyed head doser for that kind of volume. That's probably best.
And the other thing is, I think, and Vinny had told me, basically if you're going to use the the GHL doser to do that sort of thing, you need to give them at least a 15-minute break in between. So that's what would scare me, I guess, about kind of leaning on the P4 to just kind of have the lower and the upper limit, is because it might just keep dosing and dosing and dosing for me because of my high volume. I don't know.
No, I bet it would stop, because what mine does is it doses for a while and it sits to wait, and it waits to see. At least that's what it looks like. It waits to see the reaction, then it'll dose again. So it's not going to dose constant. GHL, as far as I know, doesn't allow continuous dosing. But I really wouldn't be worried about the motors. The steppers themselves are great steppers. I think it would come down to maintenance of the heads themselves. And I think you're a every 3 months or maybe more frequent.
Every 3 months I do maintenance on those heads, and they're dirty by the time 3 months is up, and so I break out the acetone and I wipe off the rollers and the metal shaft there, and replace the rollers every now and then too. I mean, how often are you doing the maintenance on the dosing heads?
Only when it gets to squeaking really loud. I just sort of base it on squeak. Yeah, because I'm not in the basement all that often. I may be down there watching a movie or something, but if I hear, the squeak is the key for me. If it's quiet, then I'm pretty good. If I look in there and the cover's maybe a little dark, then I'll pop it off. And like you said, acetone. I'll pull the parts. I'll even wipe off the tubing and maybe shift the tubing a little bit, turn it about 90 degrees, so I'm dosing a new part of the tubing. Yeah. Or I'll just replace it because I have the kits. I always keep whatever. I've probably got 12 kits here just in case.
The maintenance kits was a good thing to have on standby. For
yeah,
sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody had asked, let's see, who was it? Robert Pacino. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. How much caulk per gallon do you both use? I'd have to look it up, but
you're 2 teaspoons per gallon, right? Because you're saturated.
Whatever it comes out to, I guess, depending on what brand you're using.
Well, no,
should it pretty much be that ratio?
For calcium hydroxide, it's usually, for saturated calc, it's 2 teaspoons per gallon. I'm using 2/3 cup per gallon for my slurry. And I just keep that agitated. It's a homogeneous solution inside of a 6-gallon bucket with 2 Jabo SLW 10s, keeping that slurry homogeneous. You really only need one, but I was like, well, if I'm gone, which is when it'll break, one Jabo will break, and then I'm stuck with no homogenation. So I put 2 in there just in case.
Moki, man, his another super chat. Thanks, dude. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Moki.
Yeah, really.
I got to go see him. I owe him corals, and he has goodies for me to pick up.
Oh, well, that's going to be a fun.
He's just down the road. I'm super lucky.
Yeah, you are. I'm like pretty much in the middle of nowhere. I mean, great for skiing, but not for meeting up reef keepers. I got to actually make a trip over to New Hampshire on Sunday. Take a road trip. Meet some. Cool. I can actually meet see Paul. And do some coral swap and donate some corals to the Reef Club, because I got a lot of corals to donate there, Jim. I've been
eyeballing your sale. I was like, you got stuff like, I was looking what you have. You had Meckley's Light Brite, and I'm like, that's a sweet looking coral.
I'm growing that out. I don't have it for sale yet, but it's close. It's getting close. I've got he's got this really cool encrusting Monte I got from. It's called the ACI Dragon Fruit.
Saw it. Beautiful.
It sort of looks like an Unindata. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's not. He said it's not that, but it's a really cool blood red.
The polyps are different.
Yeah. I got a few of his corals. Some of the stuff that I picked up from last year are getting kind of close to being fraggable. Some sweet.
Can I gush on your frag tank for a minute? Because holy shit, dude, that thing is just beautiful. I was watching your video, and those pieces are just gorgeous. And that's metal halide, right?
Yeah.
You're running. What are you running? Uchios over that, or
no? 400 watt, 20K radiums.
20K.
Yep. On one of the frag tanks, and the same in the other frag tank. But then I also have the I'm running the Reef Brite XHOs in tandem with the radiums, which I love. That's a great combination. It's just a pop.
That gives you the pop you're looking for,
really,
right?
Pretty cool. But Remy, man, thanks so much, dude. Just upping Moki. He super chatted $2.01 and 1 cent, and Moki was $1.99.
Now, Remy, I think that was the second one that Moki threw out there.
Yeah, so, dude, you gotta
just saying.
You gotta.
Moki did throw out a $1.99 earlier, so you're still behind.
Yeah,
bro.
Remy, you got another. Cough up another $2. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have a problem because I need to clear a lot of corals out of that display tank, so I'm gonna just be fragging the crap out of them. And I'm
coming up with a motor. I'm coming up with a 54.
I'm telling you, you want to swing by. Like the next few weeks is a good time to come because got chunks of coral that need to be rehomed. Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing. And we talked about this a little bit, but your do-over journey is going to be pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of going to be doing the same thing, so I need to be learning from you. So. Throw it all out there. I want to see. Yeah,
you know what, dude? I'm just gonna take it really, really slow. It's just gonna be a slow transition. It's not gonna be like, all right, next weekend I'm gonna pulling everything out and putting the new rock in and all that sort of thing. I've been cooking rock in my Rubbermaid for over 3 months now. Dosing bacteria every day, doing 10% water changes from the display tank. With that 100-gallon Rubbermaid.
So you put display water in with your cooked rocks.
Yep.
What are you dosing, if you don't mind me asking? What bacteria?
The Brightwell MB7. Yeah. So I'm 10% every week. I'm taking 10 gallons out and putting 10 gallons of established tank water in. So
genius.
And I also had these. I had some egg crate that I had in one of my frag tank that is plumbed into the Peninsula tank, and I was just kind of cooking those frag racks for a while because I always like to keep frag racks in the dark in a tank and just kind of let the bacteria colonize to hopefully prevent any problematic algae from popping up. Anyway, I bought some new frag racks. I didn't need those egg crate racks that I had in that other frag tank, but they had all these feather dusters all over them, and I took those out and I put it in the Rubbermaid. So it's like instant life.
Oh, that's good. Totally. Instant life. Filtration.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
While you're picking that up, I'm going to...
By the way, I'm on call
Uh-oh. You're on call.
I am on call.
Let me thank Paula Pal for the super chat. Keep the one up going. Great chat. Thank you very, very much.
Please hold while I see what's wrong. Oh no, we're good. They're just doing some cleaning. Let me turn this off. Yeah,
You're on
sorry.
call, huh?
I have the pink phone of shame.
What is that?
No, so dig it. So my people, they have to do an on-call rotation. I was like, I think it's shitty that I don't do it, so of course I'm going to do it. And then I ask IT for an on-call phone, so if something breaks, then we get a call to the on-call phone that we hand around each week. We give it to somebody new. Oh well, IT gives us a rose gold phone.
Rose gold.
Because we're a maintenance organization, so we're going to get the rose gold. I was like, oh, I got that sass. Let's go. I was like, so I hit up one of my guys. I was like, yo, find me the sassiest phone case you can find. And old boy Samir's like, I got you. And and he goes to the store and he gets me this flower case. And I was like, that's glorious.
Peter T says the phone of shame.
It is the phone of shame. The pink phone of shame.
Flashcan, thank you so much for that super chat. Very generous. Thanks for the great streams and guests. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate it. All right, so dude, slurry. I have to admit, I'm not up on the whole slurry thing and the pluses and the minuses in terms of it. But I did learn one new thing from you tonight, and that is it seems like it's a good method if you've got a smaller system. Versus like having or at least not let me restate that. If you don't have the space for a drum or a large container for the Kalk wells or saturated.
Those who are smarter than me will challenge that assertion. So generally what you will hear from Luca is that Mahina corals, he'll say that it's generally for a larger system. And I don't know. I like Chris's method. I think it's a cool method. I don't know why I want to target 8.3, but it just feels good, and that's what I'm going to do. But all of it's based off of Lauren going out in the water and testing the water.
How have your corals reacted?
The corals are great. My Montes are stupid. They just keep growing and growing and growing. I just keep giving them away. I mean, anything in my tank grows, and I just give it away. I haven't had any negative effects from slurry. All ICP testing is fantastic. I understand the possibility of contamination from whatever, because I'm not letting the supernate drop down. I'm just dosing. I'm not just dosing the liquid, right? I'm dosing everything. So whatever is in that chunky white goodness is going into my tank.
So is the fear like heavy metals? Is that what you're worried about?
Well, I'm not, but the concern is that if there's any concern at all, that's what it'd be. Whatever is in my Kalk is going to be in my tank. But the Kalk I'm using, which is Mississippi line food grade, I have not had any problems. There are better. I think you've got you have Chris coming on in a few weeks from Captivate.
I'm using his Kalk wells. It's awesome.
Okay,
really,
yeah, I think he has a better product, and ultimately, when I'm out of my 400 years worth of Mississippi line, then I'm going to move over to Captivate. I bought a 50-pound bag from Amazon that's going to last me 5 years, but whatever. When I'm done with that, or if I lose that those containers of Kalk, then I'll of course get Chris's.
Well, you could also find some old lady that's in the pickling line.
I could. Hey, you want this? Because it's really good stuff. It's better than Mrs.
Not that I'm like stereotyping here, but that's like the woman on the label, right? Mrs.
You had an apron in your mind.
Yeah, I did.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. The concern is contamination. I'm not concerned. The secondary concern, and probably the riskier, and I think you guys talked about it last week a little bit, where Richard mentioned that slurry is back around. I think the difference between slurry then and slurry now is the reliability and precision of the devices that we're using to control the dose. I'm totally comfortable with the P4 and the pH probes as long as I keep them calibrated. I have no concern. And then also, I have zero concerns with the Doser 2.1. You take care of that thing. You maintain. You don't complain. You take care of your equipment. You have your backup supplies, right?
You gotta take care of it.
You have everything you need. And then, sorry, smack my mic. then you have everything you need, and the opportunity for failure greatly reduces to almost to zero. It's always a chance that something's going to happen, but I trust that doser. So given that I trust the device, I trust the doser, it's the same as Kalk as far as I'm concerned, saturated Kalk.
So, all right. I guess the fear out there from the naysayers is that heavy metals can get into the system, but you've been doing ICP testing. What about the precipitate though? I mean, you know, when you're where are you dosing that into, your sump?
Yeah, so I dose it in 2 different places, much like you're doing with 2 different systems. I dose it to 2 different places within the same water volume. My phone's going off again. I dose into the sump for the display. So I have a dose head that is, I've got 2 pH probes. So 1 pH probe runs the display, 1 pH probe is in the tank. Those 2 tanks are on alternate light cycles. So one's on during the day, one's on during the night, that kind of thing. So the pH probe that's in the display controls the 4th head off the KHD, and it doses based on the pH of the display. And it's all coming from the same bucket. And then a frag tank does the same. So, I mean, I have it controlled. I don't think I have a concern there. I absolutely don't have a concern there. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But
so it's not you're not concerned about it getting into pumps and whatnot. And
I'm not. So the concern about slurry clogging up pumps is I've not realized that. Right? I've got 2 JBOs sitting inside the solution itself, which is, it's a fairly abrasive solution. But those JBOs are holding up. Then I've got a JBO return pump.
They're stirring.
Oh, they're absolutely
How often
stirring.
are they stirring?
Continuously.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Those JBOs don't turn off. Wow. I ran one for almost a year, and it got a little wobbly. The head got wobbly. It got a little loose, which is apparently something that happens with JBOs. So now what I'd have is both JBOs that are in that bucket, in that solution, turned down halfway, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, see, that's
actually
go ahead.
Luca and Rob, they've both done the same thing. Luca has one that's a couple weeks behind my original, so he's at a year already with a JBO inside slurry. Rob's about a month behind.
What happens though if that JBO stop working, seize up?
That's why I have 2.
That's why I've got 2.
Yep. Come on, I'm right.
Redundancies,
flight
yeah.
control system inside an aircraft. The B-2 stealth bomber's got quad redundant flight control, so I learned my lesson.
That's the beauty of the supersaturated methodology, is that you don't have to stir it. It does not have to be stirred.
Agreed, and that's what I did for years.
Yeah.
I probably did that for, I don't know, I did that for at least
it's
8 years.
It's so freaking simple, man. I mean, it's great. You don't need a Kalk reactor. You don't need that, and it's not a good idea to run RODI water your top off through that anyway, right? So you don't want to do that. But it's simple, and take a 5-gallon bucket, a 10-gallon bucket, 30-gallon drum like I have.
If you can do it. See, I can't do it, right? My evaporation rate doesn't support that level, what I'm trying to do. So I can't do it. Slurry is the answer for me. But for those that can do it, saturated Kalk is 100. Like, I don't know why every single reefer isn't dosing saturated Kalk to begin with, and that's your foundation of your dosing. And then anything, once your corals overtake that happened to me. Once your corals overtake the alkalinity that you're adding with that saturated Kalk, then you could add 2-part. You could add a calcium reactor, but I'm a firm believer that Kalk is the foundation of all dosing.
It's magical. It's in terms of
it's simple.
It's got like this magical properties in terms of coral growth and I don't know what it is, but so hold it. You're not doing no calcium reactor, no 2-part. You're just solely Kalkwasser.
Solely Kalkwasser, and that graph that you have is purely slurry. That's it. The only thing I'm dosing is to maintain pH, and I get the alk that I get it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, dude, because pretty much everybody that I know that's doing whether it's a calcium reactor or a 2-part, there's if you're using Kalkwasser, it's to supplement. And so I'm using some high capacity calcium reactors but the great thing is the calcium reactors are not really running all the time. So it's nice to be able to kind of like have the 1-2 punch in terms of Kalkwasser and the calcium reactors, no matter what you're doing. But you know, for me, in terms of using the calcium reactors, that's why I have to you know, run the Kalkwasser to keep that pH elevated. But I'm running a lot of it now, and leaning a lot less on the calcium reactors, and I also have doing a couple other things to keep the pH elevated.
See, I think there's I think what you're doing is, well, personally, I think that's the right way, only because at some point the media for your calcium reactors is maybe difficult to get. I think we already ran into that a little bit.
Think so?
Maybe down the road. It's a possibility. I think calcium hydroxide is easier to dig out of the ground than going to find old coral skeletons. I'm sure there's a supply for calcium reactors. I think down the road it may be a little more difficult to get.
A couple of things here. Yeah, I see some comments. People, let's hit that like button. We've got over 130 folks watching us, but only 57 likes. So let's get those likes up there, so more people can find us. UK Reef Bro, how often are you calibrating your pH probes? I do mine monthly. I was going to ask you that.
So I've got well, I mean, I'm not at all. Whatever. I'm not hindered by controllers. So I've got the GHL running 2 pH probes, but then I've also got the E-Coral, and it's paying attention, and I also have an Apex in the basement as well. So I'm taking, right, I look at them, and as long as they're generally close and I'm not concerned, if one starts to drift off, then I'll do it. If I were doing it and I was relying solely on slurry to take care of what I'm doing, then I'm probably going to be looking at those pH probes monthly, if not every 2 months. Right now, I have the flexibility to just pay attention to what the other probes are doing, and then base my calibration off of that.
Yeah, I basically calibrate my pH probes every 4 weeks, just to kind of, that's my routine.
Do you calibrate or you just verify? Because I think one of the things that BRS did, and it was super smart to say, is that you buy this packet, and this packet costs pennies, and then you just stick your probe in there, and as long as your probe gets damn close to maybe 7 or 10,
a good idea.
Whatever you're doing,
yeah,
then maybe you're just doing a verification, and you don't need to go through the whole calibration process. So if you throw your probe in and it says 7, you're like, that's good enough.
Jim, man, that's a good tip. You know, I learned something new like every day in this hobby.
Hey, I'm just regurgitating. That's old BRS. They got good data. You know that.
They do, but you got to recalibrate the pH probe in the KH director. You got to do that. Or do you?
You do.
I think.
Well, that's why I have a HANA, right? I do a every once in a while I'll do a confirmatory test, and as long as it's close, I'm good.
Yeah, interesting.
And then also, I'm not controlling the KH, right? So
same with me.
Yeah, whatever it says, and then every once in a while I do a HANA check. Maybe my reagent's okay, maybe not. If it isn't, then I'll throw that one out and I'll go get another one. And then it's generally okay with the KH director. It aligns.
All right, so have we milked the Kalkwasser top? Sorry for the pun there, but
yeah, well done.
Yeah,
dose calc. I don't know why you don't saturate. Yeah. You don't have to use slurry. Everybody should dose calc.
Kalkwasser, it's a beautiful thing.
I saw Cindy even talking. Cindy was talking about she needs to spin back up her calc. Absolutely,
yeah,
you do.
For sure.
That big beautiful tank, get it going.
All right, dude. So you're one of the lucky few that's had the ion director. Talk about your experience.
Yep. I gave you a graph. I think you can show that. So here's the probe. This is the ion director probe, and it's a double top secret. I don't know what they got going on here, but this is absolutely a proprietary probe that does voodoo magic business. So it measures. I mean, you can show what it measures, along with not salinity but sodium. So the ion director is a pretty cool device. You got to do some interesting things. First, the setup is stupid easy. I don't understand the challenges with the setup, but also I'm really good at setting up a KHD, and it's super similar. So the biggest thing you got to do, and you got to first, RTFM, right? You know what RTFM is?
RTFM. What is RTFM?
Read the effing manual.
That's always a good policy. Yeah.
Always RTFM. I don't know why people don't do that. I think we're all accustomed to, we want stuff right now. We want to plug in our controller and go without reading directions, whatever. I mean, this is it's a smart device. It's a delicate device. It's a competent device. And you just need to read through the direction. First, if you're buying something, that's what I like about GHL. If you're going to buy something, go read the instructions. If you think the instructions suck, then maybe it's not for you. If they seem difficult, maybe it's not for you. But go download the manuals, go download the resource guide. See, we're getting back on GHL, and I'm trying to do that. But go read the manual. And then you'll learn that you got to soak this thing for like, I don't know. I don't remember what it says, but I soak it for like 24 hours. And you can only let the liquid get so high on this thing because this thing's super delicate. So you soak your probe. When you're done soaking your probe, you put your probe in the machine. You get your liquids already.
And I'm assuming the directions told you to soak the probe.
Absolutely. And it told you how deep to soak the probe and how to do it properly. And then you've got, it uses way more reference B than it does reference A. So you got to have more of this stuff than this stuff. Okay. But whatever magic juice is in here, which I haven't figured out yet, but it's whatever, it works. You have to have this stuff. So you get your fluid set up, you get your sample set up. Go ahead. Moki,
man, again, $1.99. Dude, thank you so much. Remy, what the hell, man? Where are you, dude? You're falling behind. Remy has Weeping Willow Frags. Abvil DM him next. Okay. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah, those Weeping Willows are beautiful. But anyway, you have your reference fluids, and then GHL also makes, and I would recommend everybody go buy a jug of this juice. Because if you want to check your HANA checkers and see what they're really reading.
What is that?
This thing's got calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and nitrates. So it has very specific lab grade readings, right? So this is calibrated juice. So you can put this in your HANA checkers to see what's up to make sure they're cool. So I've got a couple jugs of this stuff too. Because I want to know that the ion D is reading what it's supposed to read. So you put your sample tube into this fluid, you pull that, you do a reading, you see what it is. The ion D lets you adjust the reading to this reference fluid because there's going to be fluctuations in this probe, right? Variations in this probe. So having a reference fluid is helpful. It's cheap. It's something if you want it, if it's a peace of mind thing, right? For me, I just want to know. So if I see something that's out of the ordinary, then I can adjust accordingly, or at least investigate. So you've got your probe in, you've got your fluid set, and then you hit this button that says prepare whatever chamber. I could look at the app, but you prepare the chamber, and then you go away. And this is where it gets a little challenging for people. You come back 24 hours later.
Oh, it's 24 hours.
24 hours. And then that's when you run your first test.
Okay.
So now everything is chill. Everything is settled. And I installed my ion D in a very other than recommended environment. I have vibrations from magnetic stirs. I have radio interference. I gave it pretty much the worst place you can install it.
I can imagine what kind of bunker you're in there, Jim.
I mean, it's the closet. The closet's a mess. Go watch Moki's video from a million years ago. But if you have my graph, you can see how my readings were a little funky, and then they totally just locked in. And to the point where I'm comfortable controlling nitrates dosing if I were doing that right now with the ion D.
No controlling for you?
Right now, no controlling. Actually, right now I'm not dosing any nitrates or phosphates. I'm just letting the tank settle. I'm trying to control it with food. Right now, my red field is inverted, and I'm trying to fix that up. But that happened while I was away.
Yeah, so I saw that on your Instagram that you stopped dosing nitrates and phosphates. So has the more fish food, whatnot, feeding kind of served that purpose in terms of increasing the nitrates and phosphates, or no?
Yeah, not enough in terms of phosphates because or nitrates. The phosphates are fine. In terms of nitrates, I think bacteria that I have in my swamp tank is substantial, and it does a pretty good job of doing what it does. Plus, the corals are generally happy. And Lou from Tropic Marin says happy corals reduce nitrates. He said that in one of his talks. So I don't know, maybe that's part of it too.
Dude, that's like one of my major concerns is like taking a lot of coral out of my established system, and all of a sudden my nitrates and phosphates are going to like go through the freaking roof, you know, because I think they're pulling a lot of that stuff out.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I understand.
It's
and phosphates are. Go ahead.
I was just going to thank Rogue Aquariums for the super chat. Keep up the good work, Keith. Nice to see Jim on, for sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead, man.
Phosphates are the tricky one, right? Because right now there's no auto testing for. Mastertronic can do it, I think, if it's working well, but there's no real good solution for. Phosphates. Auto testing.
I agree with you that you know, you should probably. I think it's better to lean on feeding the fish more versus dosing nitrates and phosphates. I mean, sometimes you have to dose nitrates and phosphates, but I don't know. It's I've kind of had up and down experience with that stuff. I never used to do it years ago. I mean, I never even paid attention to that crap. And then you know, kind of like it was like one of the new things to do in terms of dosing nitrates and phosphates. And I was running Kato, and you know, I needed to keep those levels, you know, especially the nitrate elevated for the Kato. But then I started dosing bacteria, and I stopped. I took the Kato offline, and life has been a lot easier for me since I started dosing the bacteria and not had to use the macro.
Agreed. I'm in the same boat, right? I'm using EcoBalance, doing the exact same thing you're doing, and I don't have Kato. My Kato won't live.
Yeah,
and that's why I turned that 5.5 into.
Yeah, it kept crashing on me.
Yep, totally. And that's why I turned that 5.5 into my mixing chamber for dosing.
Remy, thanks, dude. $5. Moki said he was getting another frogfish. All right, Moki, you're up, dude.
double top secret Mochi, his frogfish that's dead is still in my freezer.
Oh, it's still in your freezer? Why is it in your freezer?
Because I was going to give it to a dude so he could do an autopsy on it, but that never happened. But it's still there, Moki.
You know, maybe you could bring it back to life somehow with the I don't know.
It's probably it's fish jerky now. It's no good. It's done dried out.
Dried out.
Yep.
Rogue Aquariums, I would like to see the Trident come out with a nitrate and phosphate tester. Is that possible, dude? I mean, is it possible to like have nitrate automated testing? I mean, I know of talking to like, you know, the folks at GHL. That's like a really hard nut to crack. It's such a small.
Yeah, but they're doing it with probes, right? So Trident's going to do it with a photometer. They're going to do it with visual, just like Hannah's, because there's no difference between a Trident and a Hannah checker. They're all kind of doing it the same way. They're just looking for a color change. Right. There's no reason why they can't do it. It should be similar to what Mastertronic does.
Yeah, I use the Milwaukee. I forget what it's called. It's you know, I think it's a pretty good phosphate test kit, but you know, a lot of times I'll test out at like 0 or near 0, but I know that you know, I've got phosphates in the system, so it's tough because you know, I think sometimes we overreact, and chasing nitrates and phosphates to me is like not a healthy thing when you're keeping a reef tank. I think, you know, you mentioned it before, you know, you got to eyeball your corals. I mean, yeah, if you start getting a lot of like algae in the, you know, tank and stuff like that, like for you, it's pretty obvious. Get rid of the detritus, you know, that's a big thing.
Right. Yeah, that might help. I can tell you if I dose nitrates, not phosphates, if I dose nitrates, then I'll get this weird algae growing. And as soon as I stop, then that algae goes away.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, I mean, listen, we've got a lot of information, you know, at our disposal. You've only been in the hobby like 9 years. So this is a lot more information than I had when I got into the hobby almost 30 years ago.
I feel lucky, right? I'm able to learn from people like you, from Al. I started learning from people like Moki when he was doing whatever he was doing.
Dude, I never tested phosphate. I never tested magnesium. I never ever tested for that stuff. I didn't care.
What are you doing for trace? Because if you don't mind, right, the tank that you have your Mitras over, that tank's growing like crazy.
Yeah, it is.
I think those are the pictures you're posting,
Yeah.
right? What are you doing in that tank?
I think it's a combination of, well, Chris Meckley thinks it's, pH is driving that. The pH in that tank is like 8.2 to 8.4. I think the Mitras are, I'm digging the Mitras. You did me a solid, man, and provided me a spectrum that I'm using in the Mitras.
You still using that?
Oh, yeah. I didn't change that.
Oh, that's
I didn't
awesome.
change that.
Okay.
So it's what Jim did for me was created a spectrum that mimics 400 watt 20K halides, right? I think maybe you also had a 250 watt 20K halide in that mix. But so it's mimicking what I'm using in terms of my, pretty close to what I have for my 400 watt 20K radium halides on my other system. But
and but you visually see that as a little more blue because the blue band is wider with the Mitras than it is with your 20K.
It was when I had no corals in there, it looked a lot bluer. But now that I've got corals in there and I look like from one tank to the next, it looks pretty darn close. I think it looks pretty
cool.
It looks, maybe it's like a little bit bluer. On the frag tank, which I picked up some Mitras and I put those on my frag tank that's plumbed in that peninsula tank. I've got that set up. But so I think pH is driving a lot of that growth. I think the lighting is definitely, I've got 6 Mitras over a 6 foot long by 3 foot wide tank, 20 inches tall tank. So I'm getting really good coverage with that. I'm digging your spectrum. In terms of traces, I'm currently dosing, the only thing I'm dosing right now is Kato Grow. I stopped with the macro.
So iron.
Yep, I stopped with the macro, and what I'm going to be dosing in terms of traces, I'm gonna swap it out. I got a couple of ICP tests that are I'm waiting on right now for the results. But Captivate, Chris, I'm gonna try his traces. So we're doing a little pre-post.
Yeah, isolate MT. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're gonna do a little pre-post in terms of the ICP test. So I'm doing the ICP test before I'm dosing that stuff, and then I'll do the ICP test a month or two later to kind of see what happens. And then I'm also I'm using Instant Ocean Salt. I've been using Instant Ocean Salt for a very, very long time. And I'm going to be...
Damn you, man. I don't know how you could do that. How could you possibly be a reefer? Go ahead.
But I'm also switching to Chris's salt to,
good.
So it's, kudos to Meckley because he's, I've been to his place a couple of times. I've seen his, his animals in person. It's like, it's just, I'm drooling every time I go to that place. And obviously what he's doing is working, works. So I don't.
Yeah. Sorry, let me cut you off for a second. If you've not watched Chris's or Keith's ACI show off video that he recently posted, go check that out because those animals are beautiful. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, just freaking ridiculous.
Yep.
So it's been working for Chris Meckley. And I don't like to make a lot of changes to my systems, especially when things are going really well. It's a hard time to kind of like tinker, but I think these are worthwhile experiments for me.
Yeah, so let's pause there for a second. First, you're going to do a big tear down of your tank.
Yeah, that's one system.
Then you're going to change your
Then
you're going to change your salts, and then
change the traces.
Went LED, and you've been metal halide like forever.
Yeah.
You're like metal halide Jesus, and now you moved over to LEDs, and then and now you're going to be dosing Captivate Trace.
Yeah.
But you don't like making changes.
I know. It's I'm not.
So I'm excited to watch what you're doing. I mean, this jazzes me, right? I'm into it. I want to see what you do. I want to learn from it.
That's what I was saying before. Is like I think just with anything with reef keeping, you got to take it really, really slow. I mean, I'm making I'm going to do the change with the traces probably like next week, and I'm going to slowly bring the 187 gallon tank. I'm going to slowly take a lot of the corals out, but kind of transitioning a lot of the stuff to the frag tanks that's plumbed in. So not moving a lot of coral out.
Not big of a change, just a little bit of bump in the road.
Right,
and
I'm gonna
like
just like one colony at a time, that sort of thing. Moki, thanks, man. It's a marathon.
I like it.
Remy, come on, Remy.
No, I'm digging the changes that you're making because I think they're cool. They're evolutionary. You talked about, what was the video you made? Not about being stagnant. I'm
evolving as a reef keeper. Yeah.
Yeah, evolving as a reefer.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. I think that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, you know, I've been kind of stuck in my ways for many, many years. You know, live rock only, and you know, metal halides only, and so with this 187 reboot, I'm doing dry rock. I'm cooking it though to turn it into live rock, and I'm not going to put LEDs on that that system. That would be too.
Of course,
that'd be too wild and crazy,
not.
you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you love your halides. And I can't blame you
I think
for
it's good to have, you know, I could, you know, I'm in a finished basement in Vermont. It doesn't get super hot, and I do have a chiller that's on that system, so it doesn't go on too often.
Can I ask you?
Go ahead.
Can I ask you about your chiller? What is your cleaning regimen for your chiller?
Like I do nothing.
Interesting, because I had one and it turned into a phosphates factory.
Really?
Like I had to take it outside. I unplumbed it, took it outside, turned it upside down, and death incarnate rolled out of my chiller. It was as if a cow had crawled into my chiller and died and rotted. And that's what was living in there. And when I dumped that stuff out, my phosphates went down to 0.
Wow. What the hell's going on with that? That's weird, man. I've never, ever done anything to any of my chillers. Never.
That'd be interesting.
Never.
It'd be interesting to see what's living inside your chiller.
It doesn't go on that often, but I don't have a chiller on the LED lit tank, so you know that says something, I guess, right?
That tank's beautiful. What you got going on there, right? You have your challenges with that tank. You had funky algae. You had, I think, a little cyano. Yep, dinos.
Yep. What else did I have? I got some bubble algae, but I don't give a crap about that. People are like, you know, before the whole vibrant thing, throw some vibrant in there. I was like, I ain't gonna be happening.
Go ahead, and do that.
I ain't gonna be doing that. You know, emerald crabs, I guess, are something you can do for bubble algae. But I've seen emerald crabs eat acros. You know, I think if you get the wrong one in there, and then it's like a freaking nightmare because then you're just ripping apart the tank trying to catch a thing. What chiller do I use? The Trade Winds inline 1/2 horsepower chiller is what I've got.
Is that some sort of heat exchanger thing, or is it like the JBJ? Because I have a JBJ that's in my garage.
The JBJ is a drop-in, though, right? This is inline.
It is. Okay,
yeah.
Inline.
Yep.
So like a heat exchanger kind of thing. That's smart.
Yeah, I think so. But maybe the problem is that the way I set it up was not very smart. Actually, I didn't have any. The only way, the issue is that when it turns on, the exhaust is coming out into my sump room, and it's heating up that room.
Yeah.
So it's like a vicious cycle. And so that's a problem. And I guess I could try to spend some money and have that vented out, but that would be crazy. So I might have to put in.
But you all
go ahead.
You also put an air exchange in your house too.
I do have that. Yes.
Okay.
But that doesn't help in terms of the cooling issue. But that helps with the pH issue for sure. That
just pH. That's
given me like 0.2 pH points, which was huge.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I have a similar thing, and then I have an Ecobee thermostat that allows me to run my fan in my house so many minutes each hour, and I've been doing that for years, and I think that's been helpful because I took apart one of my cold air returns up in the attic, so I'm always pulling in fresh air directly to the furnace, which then pushes it throughout the house, the basement being closer to the furnace. It's similar, I think, to what you're doing. Yeah. Only I'm running my air conditioner more in the summer because I'm pulling in more hot air, and I'm running my furnace more often in the winter because I'm pulling in cold. But it does pull in more fresh air.
I actually had to add a window AC unit in my basement here after I added in the second system because it was just that additional heat from that system really kicked my chiller on a lot more for the other tank. So I needed
and then humidification too, right? Your basement's relatively humid, or no?
Nah, not bad. Not too bad.
Because the window would help with that,
too. Yeah, good thing is I've got several windows in here, and I can keep them open if I, to avoid turning on the AC. The other thing I'll say is that I've got some industrial fans over my frag tanks that are hooked into my P4 that will turn on. I think it's 79 degrees to kind of try to nip the, keep the chiller from kicking on. And so that's even happening in the wintertime. I'm getting my fans are coming on. Are you doing something similar?
Yeah, I have a big old computer fan that's about this big. I mean, it's huge, and it's hooked up to the P4, and the P4 measures whatever, and it just blows across the frag tank when it does turn on, and it works great. And I was able to remove the chiller, so even in the summertime, just a fan was enough.
Paul, Great Bearded Reef. Pitho, am I pronouncing that correctly? Pitho crabs are good for Valonia as well. I've never heard of Pitho crabs. So, dude, you mentioned my video in terms of how I evolved as a reef keeper. You've been in the hobby 9 years. How have you evolved as a reef keeper? Have you?
Reefing to me is just one big grand experiment. And I've said it before, and I think it's relatively true. As long as you follow your methods, BRS's methods. I mean, the videos that they put out have made reefing incredibly easy, right? So you follow those methods, you can generally be successful. To the point where I'll say that most anybody can grow a mixed reef or SPS tank. I think it's gotten to the point now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's gotten to the point where most people can be successful with a reasonable amount of money, with a reasonable amount of equipment, and grow some coral.
Yeah.
That's boring to me, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to, I want to see what I could do. I want to take Meckley's method and Mahina. I'm into mashups, right? So I want to take Meckley's method and Mahina's slurry, and I want to figure out how to make, when I listened to Chris and he was talking about pH control, I was like, well, shit, why didn't I think of that? So then I immediately, that same day, went down to control pH. It's just one big grand experiment for me. So it's me being able to take like my Gen 4 XR30 that was sitting over the display. We're in the middle of renovating the basement, so I have to move the fish tank out of the corner where it's lived in for whatever 9 years. I posted the pictures of the wire goodness that was living behind there, because when something broke, I just cut it and left.
My line management sucks.
Oh, mine's horrible. Right now it looks really good because I pulled the tank. So I had an XR30 Gen 4 over top of that tank. Then I hung the Sky over top just to see what it looked like. And I was like, well, that looks damn near exactly the same thing. And then when I pulled the tank out, I put a Nycrew 100 over the same tank. And they all kind of look exactly the same. Over a 45, you can get away with most anything. I like experimenting. I like being able to look at a spectrum of light, like a Gen 4, and look at the spectrum of the Sky, align those two, and then look at the spectrum of $150 light and go, yeah, I can get damn close to those two and put it over the 45 and then not negatively impact the tank. So it's that kind of experimenting. I mean, with the bar lights, that whole thing, I just like experimenting. I like changing it up. I just get bored. So I turned it into something else. Or like dosing. That's why I asked about trace, because I did Red Sea trace colors forever. It was super successful with that. Minimal water changes to no water changes. I did no water changes for probably a year and a half.
How'd that go?
Now I'm back to it was fine, especially with the Red Sea trace. I had great ICP. It all looked pretty good. I did one end dock, and it looked like I needed to do some water changes. Now I do very small water changes, and I'm playing with Tropic Marin trace because I want to see what that looks like. I'll do some ICP because my trace sucks right now because I stopped Red Sea. And then when that's done, I'll let trace suck again. Then I'll go to Captivate. I just want to see the difference. I just use it as one big grand experiment.
That's cool, man. I mean, you're very data-driven, it seems like. And I think, listen, technology has got a big place in this hobby. And it's, I think you can kind of prove that, if you do kind of stick to that sort of approach, that you can have success. But that's a great thing about this hobby. Is like I just saw somebody made a comment in the chat here. I'm dumb and I can grow SPS.
I mean, so you're not if you're growing SPS. Whatever, you're doing something right. And Aaron, that's hilarious. But it's all about success. So what's your measurement of success? If your measurement of success is an acropora that's alive and actually showing a little bit of polyps, hell yeah, that's
acros
cool.
are really resilient.
They are, but not when you're using a swamp tank. There are some stuff like actually my SPS or my LPS has a hell of a hard time in my tank, but my SPS, my Disney's fine. It doesn't care at all.
Yeah, it's weird in my Peninsula tank. I can grow like LPS like weeds in my in my 187 gallon tank, but I cannot really keep any LPS. I've got a Red Gownie. I've got a Duncan frag from one of my I got a big Duncan coral in my 187 gallon. I got a Duncan frag.
Yep.
I've tried putting in some green gonnies. I've tried putting in some other LPS, and no go. I think I've got pyramid butterfly fish, and I think they're bugging the LPS. I think, but I also got a shit ton of flow in that tank too.
Yeah. Okay. That could be it. What about Pactinias?
I am actually going to be picking up a Space Invader Pactinia this weekend when I make my trek out to New Hampshire. So I'm going to try that.
Good, because I grow them so quickly, I just give them away because actually it was the original from Moki. Moki's like, hey, this needs help, and I was like, yo, I'm not good enough to do that. I'm going to kill your Space Invader. That was your prize coral. He made me take it. And that was years ago now, and the thing just keeps growing. I just keep giving it away. And then Lim Reef Nerd, she gave me a rainbow Pactinia that's super pretty, and that thing just keeps growing and growing and growing. Those seem fine, but how
do you frag those things, man? You just take out the old bandsaw and just boom?
Nope, you don't need that because it's super thin tissue.
Oh, really?
And yeah, you just cut it with scissors or you cut it with a bone cutter.
Huh.
So sharp scissors, like something like a Fisker or something like that, is actually best. You just slice it because the tissue is so thin. Huh. They get nice and balloony.
Okay.
But when they lose all of their water that they hold inside, they get super thin tissued. So then you just slice it, wait for it to drain out.
The skeleton is real thin.
But yeah, it's really easy to cut. And then you glue it cut side down. And you
have to do the
within a week
dip or whatnot, and like
iodine. You could do some iodine. That's not a bad idea, especially if your scissors are contaminated or something. But glue it cut side down, and then the cut side on the mother colony will heal within a week and a half.
Calypso's Reef SPS's cherry on the top of the cake is something about it that keeps you on the hook to it. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Great beard to Reef, Paul. Yeah, just don't spike salinity exponentially like I did. Yeah, that's a bummer, Paul. For sure. J-Tone, filthy. Laugh my ass off. I love the J-Bo shirt. I just noticed that he's rocking that on. I just noticed it too. So, back earlier in the chat, I noticed somebody asking about the Neptune skylights. Have you had a chance to test those?
Yeah, I have one, and it looks like I have an ATI strat coming my way, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. Sky, to me, is the same as a Gen 4 XR30. There's really no difference. The spectrum's super close. The Mitras has a very similar spectrum. It's a tiny bit wider than the Sky, the blue, but they're all kind of basically the same. For me, the Sky, I think it's a nice looking light. I don't like the soft touch polyurethane coating that some people put on, right? Some manufacturers put on their equipment. That gets sticky a couple years down the road. But I think the light looks nice. I like that diffuser panel inside because it really does diffuse the light well.
Yep.
But the true positive for me is the setup was just so stupid easy. I mean, it's all Bluetooth. You don't need an Apex. You got the app, you got the light, and poof, you're running your light. But it doesn't do anything better. It doesn't do anything differently. You can buy a Mitras LX7206 for less money, and it will beat the Sky in a couple different things. One being spectrum, and the other spread is neck and neck. But I mean, it's just another reef light.
Right. So let's talk a little bit. So last week when I had the panel on, when I had Ben and Rich and Tulio on, we talked for a while about the whole issue with LEDs and certain fixtures having a lack of UV. But we did not mention that is not the case apparently for all LED lights, right? You've done testing and found that there is UV that can penetrate down to corals. We're not saying that this is making a difference in terms of coral health or not. I mean, I think there needs to be more research and studies done on that. It's there's a lot of anecdotal kind of evidence that maybe there is an issue, but can you just kind of share what you've found in your testing?
Yeah, I'll be super clear that my focus on pH is totally marketing. And then secondary to that is coral color, because I'll have a Disney that lives under the Mitras, and I'll have a Disney that lives under the Gen 4 XR30. Radion does not have UV, but a Mitras does, and the color is going to be different at the same par levels. The color of the Mitras Disney is going to be a little more vibrant, and then if I move it to the tank with the XR30, it does look different. So they are growing, they are coloring up differently. That's not health related. I'm not talking health at all, and I want to make sure that that's super clear. I have no effing clue if UV coming out of a metal halide from 350 nanometers, like a 20K radium, or an Ushio does really good job of 350 to 400 nanometers worth of UVA. And a UV is not doing that yet, but that's coming, but not yet. So I don't want to talk about health. Coloring, yes, but I'm totally focused on marketing. So if your light has a UV slider, it better have a UV diode, in my mind.
Right.
Most lights have violet, but like a Reef, of all things, the Red Sea Reef LED, that has UV. The Mitras has UV. The Kessel has UV. You'll often see those who have lights with no UV. The argument is, well, the UV diodes don't last. I bet Kessel has something to say about that, because theirs do. You and I have Mitras. Oh, here's Remy. Go.
All right. The ball is in Moki's court now. Thank you, dude. Not just a marathon, an Ironman.
I did an Ironman once. It took me 16 hours, and it was the most enjoyable experience ever. I got a lot of fun for my money, but whatever. Some lights do have UV, and that UV, 385 for you and me with our Mitras, that does penetrate to the corals. It's there. It's measurable, because I measured it from the bottom of the tank through my nasty frag tank. But does it? I have no idea if it helps health. I don't care right now. If it turns out that we receive data that supports coral health with 350 to 400 nanometer UV, then I'll absolutely care. But right now, I don't care.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just seems like it's been a very debatable topic the last year or so. And but I'm definitely curious to kind of see what more if we can get more data on that and do some kind of side by side testing. That would be pretty cool. But it's you're talking about a lot of money. You're talking about having a controlled environment set up and doing some very specific testing, and it's a lot. I think the whole reef keeping hobby, there's just so many different types of experiments. And you mentioned BRS, and that they've just done some great things in terms of educating reef keepers, and they've done a lot of those types of types of tests. It's so hopefully they've got more coming down the pike, and hopefully there's others out there too that have the resources to do that sort of thing.
I'm looking to see what BRS evolves into, right? They're totally in an evolution stage right now, and I want to see what happens. I want to see who they bring in, what talent they bring in, what testing they're going to chase with Randy's departure.
Yeah. All right, so Remy's asking you, Jim, what's your current favorite ReefBum favorite coral in Jim's care? Oh, okay. What's your current favorite coral?
My current favorite. So before the evil that I caught in late 2020, early 2021,
we got to talk about that.
Some sort of bacterial event. I think that's what I've got to narrow down to. Prior to that, I had the cherry bomb.
Yeah, awesome.
Dead Disney and a green tenuous. I also had a blue tenuous that I lost and I've not gotten back yet. But those three, the green tenuous, the Disney, and the cherry bomb, I lost them along with home wrecker that Lynn had given me and a whole bunch of other things. Almost all acros died. Except for Remy's stupid nub that I brought back in my motorhome when I met him in a parking lot, which wasn't shady at all.
No, not at all.
That thing, not at all. And that thing, hey, what are you boys doing? This guy who I've met for the first time ever just gave me an animal in a box. And my daughter's getting a cheeseburger. Do you mind? I think those three have historically been my favorites. I've got them back because I mean, you see what I'm posting. I'm giving away corals.
Yeah.
I don't charge for my corals.
Are you at least trading, dude?
And then, well, sometimes I mean, there's one I just posted recently where I gave corals for bacon. The beer I'm drinking tonight actually shows. So what I do is I put corals in a cooler, and whatever shows up in my cooler outside when I go to get it is cool, right? So if somebody brings me beer, awesome. There was a steak in my cooler one day.
Wow, a lot of community, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool, right? So I don't ask. Sometimes corals end up in my cooler. It's sort of a mystery grab bag of who knows what the hell's going to show up. But that has worked out pretty well. I like that. But I gave away that cherry bomb and that Disney and a green tenuous, and then dude's like, yeah, I'm out. This guy Chevy, he's out, and he's shutting everything down. He's like, come and get all your corals back. I was like, yeah. So I think those three, that three amigos, at some point maybe I'll get that blue tenuous back. So super long story, Remy. Sorry, but yeah, I think those three are my favorite.
Moki
back.
Stepped it up. Guess what? I'm still here for this ultra marathon.
Those two guys. I mean, I think you've had them both on. They're awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think all you guys are fantastic and different perspectives. It's so cool to have all the different points of view. So, David Waters, I should ask, what light would Jim choose if price didn't matter for SPS? Do you have a go-to light?
So I haven't tested everything, right? I'm really interested in, I want to see the ATIs because I think they're beautiful. And ATI has to do something because there will soon come a day before 2030 that there are no more T5s, right? So ATI has to do something to stay relevant. And I think they continue to evolve their LED designs to give that to us. So I'm looking forward to playing with that ATI. That wasn't tested. I've tested the Mitras. You didn't see that on BRS. That's also a good light. You know this. The differences between the top shelf lights, right? So the Sky and the XR30s and the Mitras and whatever, anything else that's in that now 950 price range, which is just stupid. They're all good and they all kind of do the same thing. If I was doing something for me, I think I might go simplistic. So I might just go over the 93 just bars because then I can get myself the exact spectrum I want, which is something very similar to ATI Blue Plus. And then just that's it. Then my fish are going to be pissed. So maybe I got to figure out how to install something that ramps so I can wake them up a little bit, then turn on the lights. I think me personally, I think I'm going backwards. So I'm moving away from Wi-Fi lights. I'm moving away from super expensive lighting, and I want to go more towards. I'm chasing actually what you do, Keith, with metal halide. I'm going for that simplistic approach where I'm just going to turn on my damn lights, and my corals are going to be happy.
Yeah, you know it is so true. I mean, I was certainly confused, to say the least, when I started using the LEDs. Not because the Mitras are hard to figure out, but just because there's so many different options in terms of spectrum and intensity and right. With the halides or T5s, it's plug and play. But with the LEDs, there's just all these different light schedules that are out there, and people, oh, you got to use this one, and this one rocks, and this is the one that this guy is using, who's growing corals like crazy, and so it was confusing to me, you know. And B, you've got to like turn, you know, I've got 6 lights, and I've got to, each one of them I got to turn from the you know, into photo mode when I want to take video or pictures. You know, it's
you do
it's a pain in the ass, man. You know, it's like
you do, because they like to flicker, right? Some lights flicker.
Yeah, so that's a pain in the ass. But I forgot what my whole train of thought here, but I think.
See, I went simplistic. I'm
right. All right. So what I was going to say to you, man, is like, you like tall tanks, then you might have to do like halides, because, you know, I think that's what the public aquariums are still kind of sticking with the halides, is because of the whole penetration issue. But the Mitras, my Mitras though, are cranking out the par,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
are.
I've got a lot more par with the Mitras than I do with my halides, and my par range is like between 300 at the bottom, 350 at the bottom, to like 500 at the top. And under my halides, that's a 20-inch tall tank, and the halides in my 24-inch tall tank, you know, the par is like 200 to like 350. So
I think, yeah, and that's without lenses, right? The Mitras doesn't have lenses.
right.
They're powerful little suckers. I mean, they're all kind of the same, right? So you see those lights that are generally relatively the same wattage. They're all putting out basically the same par. But a Mitras does a pretty good job without lenses, and great spread, good color.
So a couple of other questions here for you, Jim. Great Bearded Reef Paul's asking, possible to chat about solar on the reef. He said that you had a video on that in the past.
Yeah, I do solar. So what I did is I put up, and I want to do more. Actually, I was just talking about that with my wife yesterday, day before, whatever. I've got 400 watts of panel up on my roof. And I just climbed up there and I put them up there because you can buy those things from Amazon. Then I've got an MPP solar charge controller / ATS / inverter. So it's like a UPS that you buy at Staples, except I've got solar connected to it, and the battery inside are now lithium iron phosphates. Ultimately, it's used for my backup. So what happens is during the day, the tank runs off of batteries because the solar is feeding the batteries, and then at night, because now my batteries are charged up at the end of the day, now that's my UPS. So that covers, and because I have enough batteries, my heater's on that as well. That is my backup source. Now, I also have it configured so I could hook up a generator. Last resort, I'm plugging the Tesla into the system to give me the power from the big battery out of the car. So I go a little, look, I know I'm a little overpowered, a little overboard on my backup solutions. But I think solar, especially DIY solar, if you happen to be able to access your roof or you have a shed or something like that, it's so easy to do. And then all you're doing is adding more batteries. So the more batteries, the magic is in the battery. So lithium iron phosphate. So the more batteries you add, the more backup you have, the more the less likelihood you have of a power failure.
So that's your power backup, essentially, is utilizing the solar.
Yeah. Yeah, 3-phase. So batteries first, that gives me time to react. Then I come home and I get the generator out. I've got, well, there's 4 phases, I suppose. I could go get the RV. But there's the generator that's in the garage. I have another portable generator in the RV that I could go get. And then last result is I hook an inverter up to the Tesla off of the 12-volt battery that's fed by the big battery, and then I void my warranty, but whatever, my critters stay alive.
So you're using a portable gas generator?
Yeah. That's my secondary.
So what?
Solar gets me. Solar. Go ahead.
My question was, how long can your tanks be on auxiliary power during an outage?
Depends on season and house temperature, right? If I'm during the summer, it's super easy because my heater's not running. And I'm just running a fan. So I'm moving all the power heads. I'm moving the return pump. Everything's connected to that. And I can go for whatever. It's a decent period of time because of the batteries. Batteries continue to get cheaper.
How long?
You can get you can get a 100 amp hour battery for $300.
How long can you go?
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't done
days?
No, not days. I'm going to go hours because I just need that to react. What I need, and it's only going to happen when I'm gone, right? So I need time to be able to call my neighbor, call my daughter, call whoever to come over and plug the generator into this and this. What you need to do is you have to have it set up so you could very easily transition to your emergency power if you don't have emergency power on the house. Because you need to be able to call, back to being dumb and being able to grow SPS. You need to be able to call your dumbest neighbor and say, go get this, pull this string a couple times until noise is made, and then plug stuff in.
Well, you need a transfer switch set up, basically. So you just plug. If you had a transfer switch and an auto starting generator and you want to spend that kind of money, yes, that's an awesome solution. Well, you don't even need an auto starting generator. I mean, all you need is a pole gas-powered generator and a transfer switch, and you just plug it into that outlet that's hooked into that transfer switch, and then boom, you flip it, right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Something is simple. It needs to be simple, and it needs to be when you're not having a power outage, right? I mean, you need to think ahead. If you're going to spend $900 on an effing light, you should probably have a generator.
Yeah, one thing so I've got 2 generators. I've got a full house backup automatic generator, and that that could get me like up to 4 or 5 days. It's hooked into a 100-pound propane tank. But I also have another portable generator. It's a propane portable generator from Generac, and it's a beautiful thing because that can go 2 to 3 days. So, and
off a 20-pound tank or something
100-pound tank. 100-pound tank. Okay. And I've got that.
Because a lot of people will hook theirs at 20 pounds and they're only going to get like 12 hours out of it. And they don't think about that.
Yeah. So, what I would say to you, if you have the ability to get a propane hookup to do that, you can get days out of that if you because basically there was a major issue during Superstorm Sandy with the gas crisis, right? You could not get gasoline, but you could get propane, I guess. So I don't think a lot of people have portable propane generators. I feel like I'm one of the very, very few that has one of those things, and they're great because they run clean.
I don't get it. It's easy to modify, right? If you have a Honda, even if you have a WEN, I mean, there are companies out there that make conversion kits to convert your gas to, so you can go dual gas if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, so it makes complete sense to me because if you spend a little extra money, you get that propane hookup and you get a large propane tank, you can run your tank for days on that sort of setup.
Yep.
And all you have to do is just have somebody or flip that switch in terms of it's not going to be automatic, but at least you're not gonna have to be filling up the gas tank every 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah, agreed. Do you have propane? I'm sorry. Do you have propane or natural gas for furnace?
So we've got oil furnace, but we have propane feeding the range, the cooktop. So. Yeah. And so we had that already set up, and we weren't using a lot of propane. So it was kind of a no-brainer to tap into that because we had a 100-gallon tank already with the house. So we tapped into that, and then we added an additional 100-gallon tank because I'm nuts and I'm a reef keeper and I need to have that.
Because I was thinking about like Texas people last year when they had the problem. It doesn't take much at all if you can get natural gas fed. I know they were having a problem with that too, but if it doesn't take much electricity at all to run a natural gas furnace, so then you can heat your house and you keep your tank warm. You're warm. Everybody's happy. You just got to be in a position to be able to power your tank and your furnace if you have that capability during the winter.
Yeah.
And then fans during the summer.
So just taking a look at some of the chat comments here and questions. Russell Adams, Jim, what do you think about how companies market their products? You had issues with the Sky.
It all comes back for me. It comes back to UV. What I had was an NSI member locally telling me, swearing up and down that I had UV, and I was like, that's bullshit, because I could see the graph that Neptune posted on their site. Not to bash Neptune. That's not my goal here. My goal is accurate marketing from all vendors. I don't care who that vendor is. It's important to me that marketing is accurate. I don't know why. I'm just old man grandpa about that. The Sky does not have a UV diode. And then Terrence went into this stream that tried to explain away the UV thing. The light itself doesn't suck. And I know that pisses people off when I say that, but there's so many lights out there that don't suck, that they'll absolutely grow coral. The Sky it's a nice light. It's like I've already talked about it. It looks nice. It's easy to set up. It doesn't suck, and it'll grow coral. Just market it accurately. Instead of calling it UV, call it violet, because that's what it is.
I hear you. Going back to the solar question, TSG 610 is asking, Jim, do you have a brand of batteries that you suggest for do-it-yourself solar?
Anything from ALGE. So actually, if well, we'll see. I like building my own, but maybe if I can get good deals from AliExpress, then I'll buy one. What you need to look out for actually, you don't need to look out for this because there's a cold temp charging limit thing. If you have lithium iron phosphate, you can't charge it if it's cold because it'll damage the cells. That's mainly for RV use. You can build your own. Rob in here actually built I think he was building his own 280 amp hour pack. You could buy 4 cells. You could probably do that for $600 with a BMS, a battery management system. At 280 amp hours is a significant amount of storage. Yeah. If you build 2 of those for $1,200, you have a hell of a lot of battery to last you a long time. I think I'm sitting downstairs right now about 150 amp hours. But there are so many good manufacturers. Actually, Will Prowse, if I may. I mean, this dude doesn't know me at all, but there's a YouTuber named Will Prowse who has built himself a pretty decent fortune on battery videos, along with automatic transfer switches, solar charge controllers. If you want to learn anything about that kind of stuff, because that's where I went to learn, go check out Will's videos. He'll walk you through everything you need to know, from incredibly expensive systems all the way down to DIY and then somewhere in the middle. And he's got a good website with links that take you to those batteries, those packs, those ATSs, those automatic transfer switches. Sorry, cool. All that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, watch Will. It's right there. Mark said it.
Oh, watch Will. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with Remy and Moki, man. They've been pretty quiet here. I haven't seen any of the super chat wars going on. But
they're hugging it out. They got together. Right now, they're just super chatting each other.
I don't know, dude. We've talked a lot about a lot of different stuff. Anything else you wanted to talk about tonight, or anything else?
I talked about that leaf, that light bright that you have. That's freaking beautiful. Last week's stream was amazing, and I had a really good time watching that. That was a lot of fun. Actually, I was watching that while driving back last week from the RV trip. We talked about Mitras. That was in my notes. I liked that you're seeing the growth that you're seeing. I still want to understand, like, your what you do in that tank, because that's a relatively new tank and it's growing like freaking crazy. Yeah. So I think you got something magic going on there, and I like it. Not everything's growing crazy. Not everything's growing but no. There certain pieces are like just going crazy, and but it's good. But that's a cool series, right? You take from the ground up. You go like, here's a dry tank, whatever, and then you talk about your lights and you talk about what you did and you talk about the challenges. I like that series. Thanks, man. Series. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I got to take some more progression shots and kind of see what's going on. But I got actually a couple of corals now that are starting to touch one another. So I didn't think I would have that problem this early on with the tank. So yeah, it's a good problem to have. Okay. But crap happens. It's not always rosy in terms of stuff and things pop up. But hey, it's a journey, right, man? There's totally. A lot of tripwires out there in terms of reef keeping, and you got to always be on your toes. It's like complacency is like freaking Remy, $2.01. Super chat should be called. Where you at, Moki? Melanie Simpson, thank you very much for the super chat. Great stream, great guest. All right, this is getting a little too kooky, but have you last thing? So, if you don't mind, have you played with these DIY? No, I have not. I saw Moki had from Kleben. I saw Moki had that in one of his videos. What do you think? What do you think about those? Yeah, these are fantastic. You have a 3D printer? No. Okay. So if you got a buddy with a 3D printer, these things are fantastic. I like these little things. They print single sheet, and then they just sort of snap together, and you drop that sucker in a frag cup. Yeah, cool. Or a bag, and it's totally stable. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Do you think there's enough water in the specimen cups? I know I used to use them to ship frags, and yep. There's not a lot of water in them, but I think the other good thing about specimen cups is that I would assume that they would retain the water temperature better than a poly bag. I don't know. I'm all about bag because I can get a little more water in there. I feel better if there's more water, and then I can still use the same doohickey. You can use that with the bag. Use that in a bag. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Chris has a four-sided one to protect the frag that's inside there if you're using it. But I just use this one. This, like if somebody's driving down a road, these are cool. Yeah, they are. If you're not, I mean, shipping's cool in these too, but really, if it's somebody close,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
these
It makes
sense
total
as well.
sense. Zenith reef keeping.
But this is more money, right? I like bags with heat sealed.
I
think it's
do.
cheaper.
I do double 4mm poly bags that are heat sealed, and it seems to work out pretty well. Zenith reef keeping. Thank you. Hello, guys. Hey, Keith. Hope all is well. Got my box from you. Was super happy with the new frags. Yeah, psyched.
I'm watching your live sales. I'm just waiting. You go ahead. You throw a light bright up there.
I might have the first ever light bright frag that I sell will be on my live sale. I'm probably gonna do another live sale in May. Holy smokes, Carlos 23. Thank you so much for that very generous super chat. They go low, I go high.
You know what? Carlos wins this. Carlos was incredibly helpful with me when I was having my challenges with the evil. He's the one that came in with what bacterial products to dose the tank based on his experience. He was incredibly helpful. So thank you, Carlos.
What did you do? Jake Reef, thank you so much for that super chat.
Carlos is going to have to jump in.
Get these peasant chats out of here. Laugh out loud. Keep up the awesome work, both of y'all.
I always forget the other one, but I use Eco Balance, and then there's the one that comes in the little glass thingies that you break off the tip and you.
Perdidio? No.
No, Carlos he'll say it. I don't remember the name of it, but it was those two with. I did Cipro first.
Okay.
And I understand the challenge with Cipro and water disposal and all that, and I don't have a solution for that. Wow, everybody's going.
Yeah, nuts, man. Frank Aaron, thank you so much. Great stream, guys.
But those two, following Cipro, those two products, I believe, is what saved my tank. So thank you, Carlos.
So you think? Did you do aquabiomics? Did you do a?
Yeah, that's it. Prod Bio.
Okay. Prod Bio. Right.
Yeah, there it
did
is.
Did you do the aquabiomics to kind of get a handle on what was going on, or?
So I did. I did it after the fact because there were too many changes going on all at once. Like I was like, well, I'm going to stop all of my trace dosing. I'm going to start water changes. I mixed up everything. I stopped and started all sorts of things. So there's too many changes at once. So what I did once things settled down, then I did an aquabiomics. That was my baseline as far as I'm concerned. That was relatively cleaned out. I didn't have any zero nitrifying bacteria, which I found very interesting.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting.
And I can share that test with you. It was super weird. Now it's been a while since I've done my last, and I want to grab a couple and do some progressive testing just to see if there are changes from that last one.
So are you continuing to dose bacteria as a kind of why?
Because it makes me feel good. I don't have any evidence to say right. I don't have any evidence to say it's the right thing to do, but I dose Eco Balance every single day.
Yeah, I have been dosing for almost a year now, both the MB7 and the Clean from Brite Wells, and you know, listen, things are going well, and I really like the fact that I don't have to worry about the Cato anymore, and that's offline, and it's just like one less thing to do. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to dose because I got to shut off the UV and the skimmer for 4 hours. Are you shutting off your skimmer and UV, or if you're running UV?
I don't skim and I don't UV.
Holy mackerel, dude! I didn't know that about you.
What the hell? Where the hell are you going to put a skimmer?
The UV,
where are you going to put a skimmer in a 10-gallon sump?
The UV is like, not everybody does the UV, but no skimmer, huh? Skimmerless tank. Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's in there, but it's just bubbling with air.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have a cap. It just overflows.
So that's another thing I'd like to see more information on in terms of the net benefits of bacteria dosing. I guess you can really dial that in if you wanted to with the aquabiomics in terms of getting some testing, but I think it's tough. I think it's really kind of tough to be able to prove that out. But
we're at who was talking about it? I think Richard was talking about it, right? That we're at the infancy of, somebody was talking about it. Maybe it was Jake. I don't know. Somebody was talking about that we're at the infancy of understanding the bacterial colonies in our tank, right? And ultimately, you're going to get to the point where you got somebody like you with your tank, with your Mitras, that tank, or whatever, all your tanks, where here's a gold standard, just like ATI Blue Plus. Here's the gold standard of bacteria. Here's a guy running a tank that it looks perfect. So what's that bacterial colonization look like, and how do we mimic that? And I think aquabiomics is going to give us that ability to do that. So here's all of the data that dude is capturing and collating, and we'll at some point very soon be able to say, here's what you're looking to do. And then whether they're providing the bacterial products or somebody else is, here's what you got to do to dial that in, much like we do with ICP and Trace.
Yeah. Jake's Reef, thank you so much for that super chat. Hey, Jim, did you tell him about the arm hair trick to reduce nitrates? The arm hair trick?
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, Cindy, sorry, because this became a thing. But at one point I was doing a bad advice episode, and I was talking about how people with reduced nitrates, it's because the arm hair coalesces. I mean, the nitrates coalesce on arm hair. And you need to have one of those gloves like the vets use with the cows and the horses to be able to get all up in there. I think
Moki's using one of those now, isn't he?
yeah, he totally is. But yeah, it was because arm hair reduces nitrates, and then that took a life of its own for a little while. That was unfortunate.
Adam Moore, yeah, keeps about to instantly boot Jim for no skimmer.
I mean, with my tank, with my sump, a skimmer doesn't make sense. The next tank with actually Moki has a sump I'm going to go get. That will be big enough for me to run a proper skimmer, and I'm looking forward to that. What he calls himself the inappropriate reaver, and I call bullshit there. I'm doing it way wrong, and I can be slightly successful. I'm looking forward to doing it right.
So hold it. Do you have any aeration in the sump?
Like, what do you mean?
So, one advantage of running a skimmer is that you get the good aeration and helps to raise the pH and all that stuff. Is that are you trying to like somehow get that aeration in the tank there somehow, or is that?
So it runs. There's one of those eShop. No, is it eShops? Who is it? I don't know. There's a tiny little skimmer in there. I can't remember who makes it.
I have I have a Reef Glass little nano skimmer on my quarantine tank that I run just basically just for aeration. Yeah.
It pulls room air all the time. Do you have a CO2 meter?
I do not.
I think everybody should have one.
It's a good idea.
I have a CO2 meter that sits right next to my tank. I know my CO2 in my room. I'm pulling in 400 to 600 CO2 air into my skimmer that does absolutely nothing except for bubble in the tank. Yeah. I don't know that it does anything at all, but I also know that my CO2 is low. So.
Yeah, good. All right, dude. I think we're gonna wrap it up. This is a lot of fun, Jim, and
yeah, we wandered.
So Moki and Remy, if you got any last salvos to shoot out there, yeah, there's your last chance. No, in all seriousness, dude, this was a lot of fun. Any final words? Any parting words there for the live stream folks out there watching?
Just thank you very much. We do this not often enough. I very much appreciate hanging out with you and talking with you. Thank you for allowing us all to learn from your experiences. I think it's incredibly valuable.
Well, listen, you're a pillar of knowledge yourself, and I think these shows, these live streams are very educational, and so I think it's a two-way thing in terms of that exchange of information. I think anybody that thinks they know it all and have the secrets to all the success in reef keeping is not there's a lot of different things that you can do in terms of changes, things that you can implement to become a better reef keeper. That's not to say that if you've got a methodology that's working, that you should be changing that methodology. But I think you got to be open to to making some changes if you potentially can make improvements for the tank. So that's important. Yeah,
agreed.
All right.
But thanks.
Yeah. All right, dude. So we'll have to reconvene this again very soon. Are you going to be going to any trade shows anytime soon?
Nope, nothing close. I'm thinking about, I would love to see an Aquashella. I think that brings a little bit of art, which appeals to me. I think that brings speakers, which I think is incredibly important. Anybody could do a trade show, that kind of thing. How about you?
I'm going to be going to the Reefapalooza in New York in June. I'll
Good.
be there.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going to the Magna in Milwaukee in September. I've
Okay.
never been to an Aquashella, and that might be an interesting thing to go check out.
I would like to do it. I know Moki and Remy have both done that. That looks like a fun show kind of thing. Magna would be awesome. There was one in DC, but that was before I really got into this.
Yeah.
And I should have gone, but I didn't. And I did do a wrap once with Moki and Ben and Aficionado. Richard. I mean, we had a great time, great dinner. We had a really good time. That was a fun time.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe we'll run into one another
one day,
one of these days. Yeah.
Yeah,
all right, dude.
good.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being on the stream, and I also want to thank all you folks out there. Very generous with the super chats. It was a lot of fun.
Total.
To see the volleys go.
Thanks, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos, man. Wow, that was great. But Oki and Remy and everybody else that did the super chat, that was awesome, and great comments and great questions. So thank you. Also want to thank the sponsors, Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine, for supporting the show. And a big thank you to Paul again for being the moderator. Great Bearded Reef. Thank you. Also want to remind everybody that all episodes of Rappin' with ReefBum are now available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. My next live stream will be next Thursday, April 28th. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Joe Capriata from Unique Corals. Going to have him on again, so it should be another great show, another great stream. And if you want to check out the full upcoming schedule for Rappin', visit reefbum.com. It's in the YouTube section. Until the next live stream, everybody be safe, be well, and we will see you next time.